You like to get wet, because that's what you're going to be doing to yourself and your party. If you play Resto Shaman in Dragonflight with the new talent and all the new builds and things that we have kind of checked about at the before, what prepositions? Who cares about prepositions when you can play Restoration Shaman? And we haven't checked it in a while, but it kind of changed slightly, and we kind of hope that this is the last version of it so we can finally go on the number crunching. Not to mention that Restoration Shaman is part of the class that we consider to be one of the best designs in terms of like talent systems and options and stuff, with the beefiest, meatiest general class talent tree. But before we go into that, if you like the content that we do, the videos that we cover all specs and do the tier lists and everything else on our YouTube channel and on our Twitch, consider becoming a Patreon with our Patreon platform. Link is down in the description. You will be supporting all the content that we do, make it able for us to be able to do the content that we're able to do on a daily basis. Plus, we would be super appreciated. There are a couple of tiers that you can check depending on where your situation is, and there are some rewards, and you'll be in our Patreon little group on Discord, and we'll be talking Patreon things, getting you more involved in the creative process. Thank you, and let's actually take a look at Restoration Shaman and actually see what is going on. Well, first of all, in terms of the general talent tree, we kind of covered most of them in our Elemental and Enhance video. Not much to talk about. Just a side note, if you want to get all of your healing gadget and utility and get to the Ancestral Guidance capstone, you may have to sacrifice some throughput, like, you know, improved Lightning Bolt. And then this can be a little lost in single target damage, but yet again, you don't really need that, and you probably don't need Hex on bosses in raids. So there are quite a few options when you want to build your Restoration Shaman and Shaman as a whole, rather, in the general talent tree. You have a lot of utility, so this is probably one of the most customizable talent trees in Dragonflight to this day, and it's pretty much similar to how it was 3 months ago when it was released. So that just goes to show how well this is designed. As for the actual spec talent tree, you got some extra talents from your elemental brothers and sisters at the top, or, you know, more damage. But taking those and other talents that you already used in the current version of WoW may end up with you having way less picks at the bottom of the talent tree if you want to go for more capstones or more throughput that way. So once again, it kind of ends up with exactly how you want to build your shaman and where exactly you want your power to rely. The two new additions from the top of the talent tree are Call of Thunder, that increases your lightning damage. So if you want more DPS, you can definitely pick this. It's a 1-pointer, it's just beneath Healing Stream Totem, so increase the damage of your Lightning Bolt and your Chain Lightning by 15%, which obviously it's pretty good, especially if, as would happen usually either at the beginning of a raid fight or sometimes in the dungeons, people just don't need healing. You know, you can do a little bit more by doing some damage as well. And a choice node also, which was previously to the far left-hand side, with Stormkeeper versus Ancestral Wolf Affinity. And Ancestral Wolf's affinity, what it does is makes your Dispels, your Cleanse Spirit, your Wind Shear, which is your Kick, Purge, and Totems, you can cast them while you are in Ghost Wolf, which is actually a really cool addition to the playstyle of Shaman, because you can retain that move speed as you're walking or running around through the battlefield, not to mention the extra damage reduction that you can get from Ghost Wolf, while Stormkeeper is pure throughput, 1 minute cooldown, 1.5 second cast. Charge yourself with lightning, causing your next 2 lightning bolts or chain lightning to deal 150% more damage and be instant cast, something that we're familiar with as shamans. Elemental has it as well, so Elemental has been having it since Legion, since it is the, you know, Legion artifact ability. But talking about the left-hand side of the talent tree, Deluge has been moved to the upper side right after Riptide, which is something that you might have noticed if you have been looking at the talent tree prior to this, trying to plan out your builds and stuff. While in its place now, Healing Rain is there, which you can totally skip if you want to, but, you know, don't really know why you would do that, since it's kind of like free healing, and also there's a lot of synergy with it, and it kind of depends, right? Because if the fight has a lot of movement, which hardly ever, there's a raid fight where the movement is so intense that, you know, ground healing effects like Healing Rain and other healers have a similar spell as well will become invalid, but we'll see. If you don't want it, you can essentially skip it. And also at the end of the day, maybe you don't want to skip Healing Rain since it also, you know, works in tandem with Deluge. But going past that, it also goes down into Ancestral Vigor, which is on the right-hand side, further down below it. It's a 2-pointer, targets you heal with Healing Wave, Healing Surge, Chain Heal, or Riptide. Initial heal gain 5% increased health for 10 seconds. It's going to be 10%. It's the talent that we've been playing with for a while as Restoration Shaman. And then it goes into the Capstone, which might be something that you will recognize if you've done any kind of Torghast, where you have Acid Rain, which makes the Healing Rain actually deal some damage up to 6 enemies in AoE, which was the Torghast power that we've played with in Shadowlands. Or Overflowing Shores, which if you recall, if you've played BFA, it was a BFA Azerite. Healing Rain instantly restores 40% spell power, health to up to 6 allies within its area, and its radius is increased by 2 yards, which in terms of like a raid context, that actually helps because people have a tendency to move a lot. So, you know, having a wider area or a larger area rather would make the spell quite a bit better. While it's in dungeons, you might actually be able to take advantage of the DPS. And from that choice node on the left-hand side, you can go down to Wave Speaker's Blessing, a talent that will prepare you for Primordial Wave and its buffers that are to come after. What this does is it's a 1-pointer, increases the duration of Riptide by 3 seconds, which obviously is good in and of itself, but of course works well with the Necrolord Covenant ability that enables certain types of playstyles with Restoration's Riptide. And a little closer to the middle, the choice node of Ancestral's Reach versus Flow of the Tides has taken the Wave Speaker's position above the choice node of Undulation and Unleash Life to keep the shape of the tree as symmetrical as possible. And what this does, if you are not familiar, Ancestral Reach makes increasing the healing of Chain Heal by 8% and causes it to bounce an additional time, while Flow of the Tides makes it so casting Chain Heal on a target affected by Riptide, consume the Riptide, increasing the healing of your Chain Heal by 30%, which is amazing. I love Chain Heal. It's my favorite Restoration Shaman spell in terms of healing and one of my favorite healing spells in the game. It's really cool to do it, and having these buffers, changing its utility and function is really cool. This is what I kind of like to see in terms of talents, while the Undulation is something that we're familiar with. Every third Healing Wave or Healing Surge heals for an additional 50%. And Unleash Life is the 15-second buff on the target where you can heal the target for quite a bit and increase the effect of the next healing spell. And now it has an updated tooltip where it says clearly that Riptide, Healing Wave, or Surge have 35% increased healing. Chain Heal has 15% increased healing and bounces to 1 additional target. Healing Rain or Downpour, it affects 2 additional allies. And Wellspring has 25% of overhealing done to be converted as an Absorb Shield. So it's pretty cool as opposed to before where it just improved overall healing throughput. Now it has some functionality as well. Once again, these types of mechanics kind of give a little bit more versatility to the spec, and you can change a little bit of what you want. Supposedly, if they are tuned properly, where you would be able to choose reliably between different types of effects. On the middle side, Resurgence ended up under Water Shield to help you earlier with your mana management, which, you know, it's something that a lot of healers struggle with sometimes. What Resurgence does is your direct heal critical hits refund the percentage of your maximum mana, 1% from Healing Wave, 0.6% from Healing Surge or Riptide, and 0.25% from for your maximum mana from Chain Heal when they crit. And we know that fundamentally Restoration likes crits, and seeing as how a lot of the healers and a lot of specs seem to be pushed towards crit as a stat overall in the first season of Dragonflight, if not through the talents and the base design, but some of them through the tier sets as well, which we will get into in a second. And in its old place where the old Resurgence was, you now have Lava Surge. Again, you can skip it if you don't want to have that damage. So it's always good that it gives you the option to skip DPS, because we know that some of you don't like to deal damage as a healer. Mana Tide Totem has received a new icon, but it's pretty much the same functionality, nothing else changed. In case you were looking and you were like, where is it? It has a new icon, which I guess it's cool. I kind of love the old icon. It was very iconic. I get it, cause let's move on. On the right-hand side, nothing much has changed. Same old 2-pointers. The only thing that is still strange is that you do have deeply rooted elements and ascendants in different places, and you can get both, unlike elementals and enhancements, that have them as a choice node. So this is obviously by design, and it is an interesting concept. I don't know if it's because once you pop, although Elemental has a similar effect as well, once you pop Ascendant, you also have an AoE blast of healing. Maybe that's taken into consideration. That would be like the main difference between your Ascendants and the other specs. Obviously, each Ascendant functions differently for the spec, but once you pop it, you have an initial effect of spreading that big juicy heals. Otherwise, you can be an Ascendant god, and to be fair, as a Shaman player myself, I've always loved Ascendants more on Restoration than any other spec. And as far as the tier set goes, the 2-piece set increases your critical strike chance by 10% while you have Cloudburst or Healing Totem active. I just mentioned the critical functionality of most of the tier sets, or at least the lean towards critical strike as a stat. And the new Force set effect that has been changed makes your critical heals have their effectiveness increase to 250% as opposed to the 200%, which is again a kind of a similar mechanic that we've seen, for instance, on Elemental. The crit damage portion of the crits are basically increased to over double their number effect. So now we're seeing the same thing for the heals, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why exactly 215% and not 220, which is kind of what you would see for these types of buffs. But I digress. So this is kind of how it is right now. Restoration Shaman is looking to be one of the more interesting healers as well. It's also one of my all-time favorites. And if you do decide to play Restoration in Dragonflight, you'll have some of the best times maybe building your Shaman with all of the coolest and still probably to this day the best class talent tree in Dragonflight. What do you think? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you, Patreons, for supporting the video and being a part of this community and helping us do this for a living on a daily basis. We really, really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye! So this is kind of how it is right now. Elemental Restoration Shaman. Take a look at Restoration Shaman and see and actually see.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classical retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.